I am a grandmother who believed family was everything. I lived my life around my son and his home. Every morning I woke with prayers for my family. I trusted love would always protect us. My son married a woman who seemed kind at first. I welcomed her with an open heart. I cooked for her and cared for her like my own. I never imagined pain would come from her words. One evening she looked at me with cold eyes. She told me I was not invited. Those words felt heavy in my chest. I thought she was angry only for a moment. I stayed quiet and walked away. That night I could not sleep. My heart kept asking why. I remembered holding my son as a baby. I remembered all the sacrifices I made. I believed a mother's place was forever safe. The house felt silent and strange. I felt like a guest in my own family. I did not complain to anyone.
It chose patience over anger.
I believed time would heal everything. The next day, I tried to act normal. I smiled and kept my pain hidden. Inside, I felt invisible. I questioned my worth as a mother. I wondered if age had replaced love. My son avoided my eyes. That hurt more than her words. I felt something was wrong. A storm was slowly building. I sensed secrets around me. My heart warned me to stay strong. I decided to observe quietly. I prayed for guidance and strength. I told myself truth always comes out, even when family hides it. I did not know this was only the beginning. Life was preparing a hard lesson, a lesson about love and betrayal, a lesson about silence and truth. This moment would change everything. My journey had just started.
That night, after hearing those painful words, my mind refused to rest and memories kept flowing like a silent river. I remembered the days when my son was small, when he held my hand tightly and trusted me with his world. I remembered feeding him, teaching him, praying over him, and promising myself I would always protect him. I never thought one day I would feel like an outsider in his life. The next morning, I woke up early and sat quietly. Watching the house wake up, the walls felt unfamiliar, like they no longer belonged to me. I tried to speak to my son's wife with kindness, but she avoided me completely. Her silence felt louder than her words. I noticed small changes in the house, the way conversations stopped when I entered the room, the way plans were made without my knowledge. I felt my presence was no longer welcome. My son grew distant and spoke less to me, which hurt deeply because a mother's heart always feels the change. I wanted to ask him what was wrong, but fear stopped me, fear of hearing something that might break me. More days passed and the distance grew wider. I felt lonely even in a full house. I questioned myself every day, wondering what mistake I had made. I replayed my actions again and again, but found no answer. I tried to stay patient, believing love would return, but inside my heart felt heavy and tired. I spent more time alone, praying for peace and clarity. Something told me this was not just about an invitation. Something deeper was hidden beneath the surface. I sensed that truth was waiting quietly, and when it arrived, it would change my life forever. As days turned into weeks, I began to feel a deep shift inside my heart. I stopped expecting warmth from anyone and focused on surviving each day with dignity. I moved slowly through the house, careful not to disturb anyone. I spoke only when spoken to, and even then my voice felt weak. I noticed how my son's wife controlled every decision in the home, from meals to visits to celebrations. My son followed her words without question, and that silence from him hurt me more than open rejection. I started eating alone and spending long hours in my room thinking about my past. I remembered the struggles I faced raising my children with limited resources but endless love. I reminded myself that I was strong once, and I could be strong again. One afternoon, I overheard a conversation that was not meant for my ears. My son's wife was speaking on the phone, and her tone was sharp and careless. She spoke about plans that did not include me, and words that described me as a burden. My heart shook, but my mind stayed calm, because at that moment I realized this was not about misunderstanding, it was about control and resentment. I finally understood that staying silent was slowly breaking me. I decided I would not beg for respect, I would observe and wait, because truth always exposes itself. I felt a strange strength growing inside me, a quiet power that told me my story was far from over, and what was coming next would reveal faces I never truly knew. One evening, while the house was quiet and heavy with tension, my son finally sat near me. His face looked tired and confused, like a man trapped between two worlds. I wanted to speak, but I waited for him to open his heart. He told me life had become stressful, and choices were hard for him to make. I listened carefully without blame or anger, because a mother understands even when she is hurting. I asked him gently if he was happy, and that simple question made his eyes drop. He could not answer me clearly, and in that silence I saw fear, not strength. He spoke about pressure, expectations, and arguments that never seemed to end. I realized he was slowly losing himself, trying to please everyone, but failing to protect the one who gave him life. That night, I did not cry. Instead, I felt clarity. I understood that my pain was being ignored because I was expected to endure it quietly like mothers always do. I decided I would stop
Shrinking myself to fit into a place where I was no longer valued, I began planning a change, not out of anger but out of self-respect. I started preparing my heart to let go of expectations and accept reality as it was, because sometimes family does not break suddenly, it breaks slowly in silence, and I knew the next step I took would decide my future peace. The next morning, I woke up with a calm feeling that surprised me, because for the first time I was not carrying fear in my chest. I moved through the house with purpose and quiet confidence. I cleaned my small space and packed a few personal things, not because I was leaving that day, but because I was preparing myself mentally. I realized that staying where respect was missing was slowly taking away my self-worth. I began spending more time outside, walking slowly and breathing deeply, letting my thoughts settle. I met an old neighbor who listened to me without judgment and reminded me that my life had value beyond being useful to others. Her words planted a seed of courage inside me. When I returned home, I noticed the same cold behavior, but it no longer controlled my emotions. I stopped explaining myself and stopped waiting for kindness that never came. My silence was no longer weakness, it was strength. I prayed every night for guidance, not revenge, and I felt peace slowly replacing pain. I knew something was about to change, because when a woman stops begging for love, life prepares a new path for her, and I was finally ready to walk it. As the days continued, I felt myself growing stronger in ways I never expected. I no longer woke up with tears in my eyes. Instead, I woke up with acceptance, which felt heavier, but also more honest. I stopped waiting for apologies and stopped hoping someone would suddenly understand my pain. I began to understand it myself. I realized that love should never require humiliation or silence to survive. I spent long afternoons remembering my younger years when I worked endlessly to raise my children, sacrificing comfort, dreams, and rest without complaint. I reminded myself that a woman who can endure so much can also rebuild herself at any age. I started writing my thoughts quietly in my heart, because words on paper were not allowed in that house. I observed how control ruled everything, and how fear shaped every conversation. I saw how my son had changed into someone who no longer trusted his own voice, and that truth hurt deeply but also opened my eyes. I knew I could not save him by destroying myself. Some nights I cried softly, but those tears were no longer weak, they were releasing years of unspoken pain. I stopped blaming myself and started forgiving myself for staying silent too long. I knew the path ahead would be lonely but peaceful, and that peace was worth more than comfort. Without respect, I was slowly preparing for a decision that would shock everyone, because no one expects a grandmother to choose herself, but I was ready. One quiet evening I sat alone and felt a deep understanding settle inside me like a final truth. I realized that I had been carrying the weight of everyone else's happiness while my own heart was slowly breaking. I thought about how society teaches grandmothers to stay quiet, to accept pain with a smile, and to never speak when they are hurt, but I also realized that silence can slowly erase a person if it lasts too long. I began to imagine a life where I could breathe freely without fear of rejection. I imagined mornings filled with peace instead of tension, and nights where I could sleep without replaying hurtful moments in my mind. I noticed how my presence no longer affected anyone in the house, and that awareness was painful but also freeing, because it showed me that I was already alone. Even while staying there, I started preparing myself emotionally for separation, not from love, but from disrespect. I prayed not for things to change, but for strength to accept what could not be fixed. I knew when I finally spoke my truth it would surprise them, because they believed I would endure forever, but endurance without dignity is not strength, it is slow surrender, and I was done surrendering myself. I felt a quiet power rising inside me, a power built from years of sacrifice, patience, and survival, and I knew the next step I took would reveal the biggest truth of all. The morning I finally decided to speak, I felt no fear, only a steady calm that told me this moment was necessary. I waited until the house was quiet, and then I called my son to sit with me. I looked at his face and saw the little boy he once was mixed with the tired man he had become. I spoke slowly and honestly, telling him how being excluded had made me feel small and forgotten. I did not accuse or raise my voice, I simply shared my truth, and for the first time, I did not apologize for my feelings. He listened silently, and I could see confusion and guilt in his eyes. I told him that a mother does not expect control or ownership, only respect and kindness. I explained that staying silent had hurt me more than leaving ever could. When his wife entered the room, she looked shocked, because she never expected me to speak with such calm strength. I told them both that I needed space to heal and find peace, not because I hated them, but because I loved myself enough to stop accepting pain. The room felt heavy and still, and in that silence, I knew something had shifted forever, because once a woman speaks her truth with dignity, there is no returning to who she was before. After that conversation, the house felt different, not warmer, but strangely empty, like something important had been removed. My son's wife avoided my eyes, and my son became unusually quiet. I could feel their confusion, but I no longer carried responsibility for their emotions. I spent the day slowly packing my belongings. Each item held memories of years spent loving without condition. I was not angry. As I folded my clothes, I felt calm and grounded, like someone finally standing on solid ground. I left a
Simple note expressing love and hope for peace. Because I refused to leave behind bitterness, I stepped outside the house and felt the air touch my face in a way that felt new and healing. I went to stay with a distant relative who welcomed me without questions or judgment. That kindness reminded me of my worth. I slept deeply that night without tension for the first time in months, and when I woke up I felt lighter. I realized that choosing peace was not
abandonment, it was survival. I did not know what the future held, but I knew I had reclaimed my dignity, and that was a victory no one could take from me.
The days that followed were quiet but meaningful, and for the first time in a long while I felt truly present in my own life. I spent mornings sitting near a window watching the sunlight move slowly across the floor, and it felt like time itself had softened. I reflected deeply on everything that had happened, and I understood that being told you are not invited can wound the heart, but staying where you are not valued wounds the soul even more. I
realized that family is not defined only by blood or
roles but by respect, care, and understanding. I did not carry anger toward my son because I knew he was struggling in his own way, and I chose forgiveness not for him but for my own peace. As weeks passed, my son began calling more often. His voice sounded different, softer, and more aware. He told me he finally understood what my absence had revealed to him, and how silence in the home had exposed truths he could no longer ignore. I listened without
judgment and offered guidance without control, because
love does not demand, it only supports. Slowly our relationship began to heal in a new and healthier way. I never returned to the house, but I regained my place in his heart, and that mattered more to me. I learned that strength does not always roar, sometimes it whispers enough is enough, and changes direction. My story taught me that even as a grandmother it is never too late to choose self-respect, peace, and truth. And to anyone listening who has ever
felt excluded or invisible, know this: your worth does not decrease because someone fails to see it. Sometimes walking away is not loss, it is the beginning of healing.